Sometimes life takes unexpected turns, tiny moments that seem ordinary at first but end up changing everything. And sometimes, kindness shows up in the most surprising ways. This story begins on a cold, windy evening when a single dad named Mark answered a phone call that wasn't even meant for him. He could have ignored it. He could have simply hung up. But what happened next would melt his heart, break a few walls, and rewrite the future he thought he was stuck with. Before we begin, if you love emotional true-to-life stories that remind you how powerful kindness can be, make sure to subscribe, like, and comment on Kindness Tales. Your support helps us reach more hearts, and we'd love to have you in our growing family. Mark lived a simple life with his 8-year-old daughter, Lily. After losing his wife 3 years earlier, every day had been a balancing act, working long hours as a tow truck driver, helping Lily with homework, packing lunches, and doing his best to be both mom and dad. He wasn't perfect, but his heart was full of love, and Lily always said he gave the best bedtime hugs in the world. It was around 9 p.m. when his work phone buzzed. He was already driving home after a long shift, exhausted, hungry, and thinking about reheating leftovers. But when he answered, the voice on the other end wasn't asking for roadside help. It was a young woman, panicked, her words trembling. She said she needed someone, anyone, to come quickly. She mentioned a broken-down car on a quiet road outside the city, and then the call cut off. Mark stared at the phone. He hadn't received any job request from dispatch. The call was clearly a mistake. But something in her voice, something scared and lonely, stuck with him. He sighed, turned his truck around, and drove into the night. When he arrived, he found a sleek black car parked under a flickering streetlight. The woman leaned against it, hugging herself to stay warm. She looked young, maybe late 20s, wearing a long beige coat and expensive shoes, clothes that didn't match the empty road behind her. Mark stepped out and introduced himself. Her eyes softened with relief. She told him her name was Elise. She apologized for calling the wrong number, explaining she had been trying to reach her family driver but must have misdialed in her panic. But by then, Mark was already checking under her car's hood. It wasn't a big issue, just a loose battery connection and a drained battery from repeated attempts to start the engine. He fixed it in minutes. Elise watched him in disbelief. "You didn't have to come," she said softly. "You don't even know me." Mark shrugged with a tired smile. "Sounded like you needed help." She looked at him for a long moment, really looked. His worn jacket, calloused hands, the exhaustion in his face. And then she noticed something else. A small drawing taped to the dashboard of his truck. A crayon sketch of a smiling stick-figure man holding hands with a little girl. "Your daughter?" she asked. "Yeah. Lily. She waits up for me when she can," he said. Something warm flickered in Elisa's eyes. Gratitude. Maybe admiration. Maybe something else entirely. Before he left, she offered him money, much more than what the job would have paid. But Mark shook his head. "Just glad you're safe," he said. "That's enough." He drove away without knowing who she really was. Without knowing that she wasn't just anyone. Elise was the heiress of the Harbrook Foundation, a massive charity group known all over the state. But Mark wasn't the type to recognize wealth by clothes or last names. To him, she was just a person who needed help. The next morning, Lily woke up early and pulled Mark out of bed to show him a school project she had been working on, a little cardboard model of a house. "It's our future home, Daddy," she said proudly. "The one we'll live in someday when you don't have to work so much." Mark smiled, but inside his heart tightened. He had been behind on rent for 2 months. He'd hidden the overdue notices under his mattress so Lily wouldn't see them. He was doing everything he could, but life just kept stacking challenges against him. Later that afternoon, as Mark prepared for another long shift, he heard a car pull up outside. A familiar voice called his name. Elise stepped out, wearing a warm smile and carrying 2 cups of hot chocolate, one with extra marshmallows, which she somehow guessed Lily would love. Lily ran to Mark's side, hiding behind his leg the way shy kids do. "I hope this isn't weird," Elise said gently. "I wanted to thank you properly. You helped me when you didn't have to. And I couldn't stop thinking about it." Mark waved a hand. "It was nothing." "No," she said firmly, "it was kindness. And that means something." She reached into her bag and pulled out a neatly folded document. Mark hesitated as she held it out. "What's this?" "A job offer," she said. "A real one. With good pay, benefits, normal hours. My foundation needs community outreach drivers, people who care about others. People like you." Mark stared at her, speechless. "I looked you up," she admitted softly. "Not to invade your privacy, but because I wanted to understand the man who drove across the city for a stranger. You're raising a daughter alone. You've worked hard your whole life. You deserve a chance to breathe." Lily tugged on Mark's sleeve. "Daddy, does this mean you can be home more?" Mark swallowed the lump in his throat. I don't know, sweet pea." But Elise knew. "It means yes," she said warmly. "If you want it." Mark felt his chest loosen for the first time in years. "Why?" he asked. "Why help me?" Elise's eyes softened. "Because last night, someone helped me. Someone who didn't ask what I could offer. Someone who didn't care who I was. And sometimes, kindness should come full circle." Mark looked at Lily. She nodded excitedly as if she fully understood the moment. He turned back to Elise. "Thank you," he whispered. The next weeks changed everything. Mark started his new job. He worked regular hours. He came home before Lily's bedtime. They cooked together, laughed more, breathed easier. And Elise visited often, bringing books for Lily, sometimes staying for dinner, slowly becoming part of something she hadn't even realized she'd been missing, a family's warmth. Mark never bragged about what he did that night. He never acted like a hero. But his simple decision, to answer a call that wasn't for him, ended up building a bridge between 2 people who needed kindness more than they knew. Kindness doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it's a quiet choice made on a cold night, a choice that ripples outward in ways we never expect. And sometimes, one small act can melt a guarded heart, heal an exhausted one, and bring 2 lonely worlds together. So remember this, you never know whose life you might touch with a simple act of kindness. And you never know whose kindness might change yours.